There's something familiar about this day. There's something peculiar about the way I can breathe it into my lungs, hold it under my tongue. I've already tasted it.
Love. The emotions that comprise the euphoria of being in love are mortal. The feelings that support the emotion of love are mortal. But the emotion of love itself is immortal. Love itself never dies. I know this now. I also believe that being in love is more than just an emotion. It's a state of mind that comes and goes. It is something greater, but not as stable. Sometimes we find someone so special that they manage to change our embedded views of this feeling, this entity. What a rarity. Well, there it is. My new roommate had just moved in. I met her with Bettina a long while back while in Chicago, and she and I had been emailing each other ever since, often tossing around the idea that if Bettina and I were ever to separate, that she come live with me. We shall refer to her as the artist. So now I was once again in something of a relationship, this time with a fellow trans woman from the forum. She was drop-dead gorgeous and completely passable as a woman. Even her voice was amazing. She's a Virgo and an ex-Marine who's had not a single surgery, and despite all of that sounding like a contradiction, trust me, she looked amazing. Very slender, slightly taller than me, and so much more ladylike. She was a health nut who used to try getting me to eat all these weird vitamins and berries and crap, often sneaking flaxseed into my cereal, which I'd never even realize until I got to the bottom of the bowl. She was a good person. However, as all Virgos, she did sport one hell of a temper. In fact, I even have my own little take on this particular cluster of stars. Virgos are aliens. If you were to take every single Virgo in the world and put them alone on an island, but give them all the tools, materials, and equipment they ask for, in 1 month's time, they'd have built a spaceship and flew home. They don't always verbalize themselves, often choosing telepathy to relay what they're trying to say, while simply assuming that the person they're talking to is able to get the gist of what they really are trying to say, something which the majority of Earthlings kind of lack the ability to do. Nonetheless, the Virgo cannot comprehend life without telepathy, and will forever leave out the finer details in their speech, ultimately reducing everyone's ability to understand them. This angers the Virgo, thus the reason for their short tempers and feelings that no one ever gets them. Anywho, so she drove herself all the way from Chicago to Connecticut to come live with me. I was more excited just to have someone I could relate to by my side. We were meant to help each other. She was severely struggling with her SRS money, so I even went and got her a job working under me at BAE. That company sure was amazing. It was probably the only place in the world to have two trans women employed at the same time, both going through the change. Too bad by the time I got through with them, though, they'll most likely never hire another again. But I'll get to that. So if you haven't yet realized where this relationship might be headed, let me point out a few things. The artist and I impulsively moved in together, and she was now working under me. I tend to be a self-centered bitch, and she was crazy. I have to check with a cookbook, but I think that might be the recipe for disaster burgers with a side of home wreck fries. Now living in Connecticut, I would also be made aware for the first time of these things called Renaissance fairs. I've always been in love with the Dark Ages, medieval times, swords and spirituality, paganism, Celtic knots, long purple velvet dresses, just name it. So it was pretty much all over once I learned of these gatherings throughout Connecticut, in my favorite month no less. This was now a way for me to dress up not only for Halloween, but for all of October. What more could I have possibly asked for? The artist and I went to our first fair together, dressed in the closest clothes we had resembling the time period. It was a blast, and I ended up buying us several awesome gowns, which we'd later wear to this enormous radio station-sponsored costume party in Hartford. I was finally finding myself. Now instead of dressing like a girl for Halloween, something I had to be, I could at last dress as something I wanted to be, or even at least something I just wanted to celebrate. My costume wasn't so much of a costume anymore, as it was now just a way to celebrate my past life. Dressing up as a zombie or whatever is cool and all, but for each day I could get away with it during this month from now till forever, I shall only be found in the finest garb. So then comes the eve of this huge party. Don't ask me where, because I can't fully remember, but I had, of course, gotten a hold of some of those lovely magic mushrooms yet again. When we got to the place, it was enormous. The artist and I decided to split up and go our own ways, but not before I shared some of my party favors with her. I always loved the private company of a companion. However, when in public situations containing lots of people, I always preferred to be single, thus allowing me to mingle at will, something Bettina never really understood. So of all the people's costumes I came across, there were these two girls that will forever remain burned into my memory. They had taken these little cardboard boxes and put them around their torsos and painted them white, both wearing matching white berets and white elbow-length gloves. Then cut into the front of the one girl's box were two vertical slits, while sticking out of the other girl's were two prongs. They were supposed to be a plug and a wall socket. I openly asked if they were lesbians because of the innuendo, to which they replied that I was like the 20th person to ask them that. It's the little moments like these, where you get to peek into someone else's life, which makes this day so special to me. It was the perfect example I'd been looking for to describe it all. Then things finally went south. See, I hate mushrooms. Like real ones. I won't even eat a slice of pizza if there were mushrooms once on it. It's freaking mold and it's so disgusting. However, this one day a year I tried to look past that, usually mixing them with potato chips and soda to help not remind me of what I was about to eat. This year, I mixed them with dry oatmeal. They don't really taste that bad, more like cardboard. It's just the thought of it that makes me sick. And boy, did they make me sick. I sat in front of a garbage can for more than half the night, puking in front of everyone. Only once I realized that it wasn't going to stop, did I finally crawl outside and spend the rest of the night in my car. And because the artist and I had split up during the event, I couldn't find her to let her know that I'd be waiting for her outside. It fucking sucked. I sat there for so long, still throwing up, until the party finally ended, and she found me God knows how many hours later. I wasn't mad at her. It was actually quite the opposite. I was actually happy that she had a good time. She needed it. Shortly after this event, however, the good times ended as the artist and I began to argue. I don't clearly remember about what. Part of it may have been because she was homesick, but I have no doubts that the other reasons were because I wasn't giving her enough attention. Whatever the determining factor was, I'm sure it was ultimately my fault. So one day at work, she blows up in front of everyone. She then proceeded to get up and stormed out of the building, quitting her job with no notice. She just upped and left like a fart in the wind. Not only did it make me look bad because I got her hired, everyone knew we were dating, which really made me look stupid. We kept at it long after I got home until she finally said she was leaving. It was all over just as quick as it started. The whole relationship lasted about 2.5 months. Fortunately, we would make nice a little further down the road, so this isn't the last time our paths will cross.